Hello and welcome to week 8 in the psychology of personality, and we are taking on chapter 10, trait theories. And I want to start off with a kind of a general discussion about within the field of psychology and what we study. There are two properties of the human experience that I want to clarify, and that is traits and states. Now, when we talk about consciousness and emotions, we're often talking about states. I'm in a state of consciousness. I'm in an emotional state. What those refer to, the word state, refers to characteristics of us that are very volatile. What that means, they change rapidly, or they have the potential to change rapidly. So my consciousness can change rapidly. I could fall asleep, or I could wake up, or I could feel pain, or I could be hungry. Those things can happen very dynamically. Same with emotions. Emotions can come and go. I can watch a sad movie and I move from being happy to being sad. Those kinds of things. Scared, those kinds of emotions. So we refer to those as states. That compares to a whole other set of things that we study, into which in that bucket we can put personality. We can also put intelligence. Most of the theories of intelligence. Now, what those are, and in this case, talking about trait theories within personality, is they are relatively solid, non-changing aspects of who we are. Now, in both the areas of personality and intelligence, we see social factors, we see situational factors, cultural factors, and that make those things appear dynamic. Meaning, in certain situations, I may act in a way that is not my usual personality. So there's that capacity, let's say for an emotional state, to push my personality into a place it doesn't go very often. That kind of thing. But when we look at trait theories come along and they purport that, in fact, even those traits that can get moved by emotions are defined by the degree to which they can be moved by emotions, and that is consistent over time. So we have a collection of different theories within the world of psychology, personality theories, that are based on traits. They're very, very popular. And when we talk about personality on the everyday sort of vernacular of when we deal with personality, we are often reflecting trait theories. When you talk to someone, you're trying to get to know someone, trying to get aspects of their personality, it's probably pretty rare that you're going to do a dream analysis. Probably pretty rare that you're going to do anything with the id, ego, and superego. You might instead look, are they loyal? Do they lie? Are they a nice person? Are they gentle? Are they romantic? Are they, those become traits. What you're looking for are the characteristics of this person that are relatively consistent over time. So that said, because the theory defines these things as consistent, enter in the world of psychometrics. So there's a period in the history of psychology where, as we started to understand and come up with theories of personality and other aspects of human experience, like cognition and memory, we wanted to start developing ways to measure that. And that's the field of psychometrics, measuring the psyche. I introduced you a little bit to that. In the beginning of the chapter. There's how we create tests that measure things. It's a really, really great opportunity to talk about that, because there are lots of personality tests, and those personality tests primarily focus on traits. Now, when we're measuring personality, when we're using psychometric tests, there are two characteristics that are important for us to know about that test. Is it valid? Meaning, this is a very important one to understand in terms of personality. Validity means, does it measure what the theory of personality says personality is? So there are different tests, and it's valid to the point that it refers to the concepts and constructs within the theory. Not that it's true. That's different. Trueness, in terms of what is the true nature of personality, evades us still. We have multiple theories, and they're all useful. Maybe we have our favorites. We have, those kinds of things. But here in psychometrics, it's like the validity means, is it measuring those constructs? If I say, for example, that imaginativeness is a personality trait, the degree to which someone can imagine things, does my test actually measure that? Or does it measure something else? The other characteristic of testing is reliability. And again, we kind of get caught. It depends on the theory. If the theory says that these things are traits, these characteristics are traits and don't change, then a reliable test will measure them consistently over time. If, however, the theory purports that some of these may change over time, then we would expect that the test would measure that difference as well, and it would not have that strict sense of reliability. So there's some interesting definitions of testing that comes along when so much of those definitions are based on the theory of personality. In fact, the quote I've heard about both IQ or intelligence, or say intelligence and personality, say, what does a personality test measure? It measures the theory. It measures how true that theory is for you. It measures the qualities of the theory. That's it. That's all it does. We might be missing all kinds of aspects of your personality, of who you are, things that you would consider part of your personality. But a test for personality measures the theory, the constructs in the theory. The same applies to intelligence. If I'm going to give you a test of intelligence, we could actually, how do we define intelligence? It's the thing that intelligence tests measure. And those are connected to theories. So there's some wiggle room and some really interesting ways in which we can explore our personality in a way that it is instructed to us. Now, this is not in the course book, but there are tests for abnormal personality. And one of my favorite tests to say is the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory, or the MMPI, is specifically geared toward measuring abnormal personality. It's the kind of test that will ask if you're hearing voices, or if you're depressed, or various kinds of questions that you would not normally find in a quote-unquote normal personality test, because you're not measuring normal personality. Almost every personality test, aside from those that are used for clinical diagnosis, measure aspects of your personality, all of which are generally positive or have positive slants to them. So it's a safe bet to take a personality test simply for personal growth, and you're going to have the opportunity to do that in this class. So the first kind of thing that comes along, that the person, basically the father of trait theory, is Gordon Allport. Now, he said some things that the way these things happen over history is there's pieces from these early theories that remain with us even into modern theories of personality, and then we have things that get outdated or whatever. But theorists are stealing from each other all the time. There's good stuff in Allport's here, and I kind of picked some of that out. That he felt personality is dynamic, that it changes over time. So that's key in understanding. He also said It's psychophysical, meaning that personality encompasses the whole body. The mind-body thing, he eliminated that. He said that that's all one organism, and our experience of the personality is a function of both of them. It underlies behavior, but it is its own thing. Personality isn't behavior. It's the rule book, let's say, that guides our behavior. Individual people express their personality through the unique quality of their adjustments to challenges within their environment. This is an incredibly cool theory. And what you'll see when we get to the assignment, he actually has tons and tons of components of the personality, all of which we can call upon. We call upon these in different ways when we're adjusting to changes in our environment. It's actually, in a way, it sort of speaks to the triarchic theory of intelligence, which has a part of our intelligence is our ability to adapt to situations. So here we have a personality theory that's based on traits that we call upon in order to adapt to a situation, connecting to essentially the use of smarts, intelligence, and information as a measure of intelligence, solving problems in unique situations. So kind of a neat connection there. In terms of his personality traits, that huge long list that you'll be encountering, he says that for individuals, there are some that are cardinal traits, and then there are central traits, and then secondary dispositions. Dispositions is the word that's used. Now, cardinal dispositions, these are the unchangeable, unmovable aspects of who we are. They're the lines we will not cross. Then we look at central traits. These are important, but we develop them, we use them, we mold them. These are probably our skill set, probably our, in terms of adapting to different environments, right up until the cardinal traits, and then we draw the line. But we're going to be, these are the traits that we're familiar with using. Then we have secondary dispositions, and these are aspects of ourselves that we rarely have to call upon, or we never call upon. You can probably see within that long list that we're going to look at some aspects of that described personality that you've never used, or maybe very rarely used. Now, the next person I introduce in the course book is Raymond Cattell. Now, I have a special fondness for the work of Cattell because when I was in college, one of my advisors was the official biographer for Raymond Cattell, knew him well, wrote his biography. His research was based on the same sort of premise that Cattell did, and I got to know Cattell's work in the research that I did as an undergraduate. And brilliant, very, very prolific psychologist, controversial, a little strange, invented his own statistics, participated and conducted massive personality studies with literally tens of thousands of people involved in those studies, and published like a madman. Just an incredible work. And probably his most famous product that's still with us is the 16 Personality Factors Questionnaire. Now, I put a graphic, an example of the kind of report that you get from the 16 PF, and you'll see the 16 dichotomies here. You see right at the top, we see sort of a representation of extroversion and introversion. So reserved, outgoing. Then we have concrete thinking, abstract thinking, these dichotomies, and where are you in the continuum there? And what this graph shows, it shows an average of airline pilots, creative artists, and writers on average. You see some place where it's opposite, like you'll say airline pilots are tough-minded, whereas creative artists are sensitive, right along with the writers. So you see somewhere it's opposite, then you see somewhere it's the same, like they're all abstract thinking, for the most part. And so that's what his theory did. Now, here's where there's some things that were kind of stolen, I would say. In the creation of the 16 PF, the type of statistics that Cattell used is called rotational factor analysis. And it's basically a very, very intense multiple correlation. And what he did is he took all kinds of adjectives that describe people, and he had people rate themselves. Thousands of people rate themselves. And then using the statistics, he determined which ones of them clump together. Like they tend to rise together and they tend to be low together, on across thousands of results. And this is heavy, heavy duty computer math here. And then when he was able to bring those clumps together, he's able to then adjust the statistical parameters to higher and higher resolution, let's say, in order to define these groups more and more carefully. So you end up with like 50 words are working together all the time. And then he would look at those 50 words and he would define, let's say, affected by feelings, because those tend to go up and down together. You see what I'm... So in the creation of that, he used a large list of adjectives. He probably, now I heard he used a dictionary, but probably got a lot of Gordon Newport's adjectives and then factored them down to 16 dichotomies to represent the personality. Cool stuff. But then we have the Big Five. Now, the Big Five personality theory actually arrived due to a research process called a meta-analysis. Now, there were lots of trait theories, all kinds of, I've just mentioned 3 here, and there's a lot more. Different tests, all that stuff. How do we define personality traits? So researchers quite a bit ago looked at these, and they looked at all of these research articles on trait theory, and they said, well, which ones do they all share? What are the most common ones? And they did a study to hone down which are the most common, and they came up with 5 that appeared in almost every single other personality trait theory. So by grinding it down to those 5, they came up with 5 generic aspects of personality that could be easily tested, and we got the Big 5 personality theory test. All of that. Right now, probably the most widely used personality test, trait personality test. So here's the graphic in there. We have the words make up an acronym, OCEAN. It's easy to remember. So we have openness, the degree of intellectual curiosity, creativity, and preferences for novelty. Then we have conscientiousness, tendency to be organized and dependable. Then we have extroversion, the tendency to seek the company of others and talk. Agreeableness, the measure of one's trusting and helpful nature. And neuroticism, predispositions to psychological stress. These 5 aspects useful in describing people's personality. So the chapter 10 discussion is going to focus on 2 of these, the 16 PF and the Big 5. I'm asking you to take these tests. I have links to them in the course book. These are very, very common tests. These are not official clinical versions of these tests. They're just, for fun. But a fun exploration of your personality using these 2 tests and asking you to share those. How accurate is it? Did it capture something surprising? Did you learn anything about yourself? Did you feel that it didn't capture a part of your personality? And then in the assignment, we're going to take a look at Gordon Newport's work. Now, in Gordon Alport's work, I'm going to get to it here. It's in the assignment. He has all those traits that he uses to determine what are cardinal, central, and secondary traits or dispositions. And I'm asking you to go through that list and pick 5 traits that you believe are cardinal, 5 traits that are central, and 5 that are secondary. Make sure you understand each one of those. So if we go to the course book, we can open that. Here's Gordon Alport's. This is on page 190. Gordon Alport's traits. Look that up here. And there's a lot of them. I know. And these are divided into some categories here. You have positive traits, neutral traits, and negative traits. So maybe there's combinations of these. Now these were the traits that he used to describe human personality, and the uniqueness of an individual is which of these are considered cardinal, which are considered central, and which are considered secondary. So you're doing this a little bit on your own. You're not really taking a test on it to measure any of these things, but you're looking at these and saying, yeah, that's central or that's secondary, or might be easiest to find your cardinal ones. But you're limited to 5 too. So the paper is really simple. You're introducing what you're doing, and then you have 3 little sections. And for each section, you probably should talk about them a little bit. Like why are they cardinal? Why are they central? Why are they secondary? And so playing around, essentially you're experiencing all 3 of these theories. In the discussion, you're taking psychometric tests for the 16 PF and for the Big 5. And in this case, you're just going through the list of words in order to make a determination based on that input as to what your cardinal, central, and secondary traits are. So that's what I'm expecting. So look forward to the discussion this week. Next week, we will be on break. So hopefully that reduces your to-do list, or maybe you can switch out some to-do list items and get some other things done. So we have this week, and then we have a break week. So be strong out there, participate in the class, make it happen. I will see you online. Take care.